What's up, everyone? Welcome to the July 7th edition of FanDuel Tournament Plays presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, use the code AWESOMO when you sign up and make a deposit at PrizePicks. You'll receive one free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. You'll also receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100 on your first deposit. We have a 10-game MLB slate tonight. As usual, we're going to take a look at three of the top tournament stacks and three of the top tournament pitchers using the top stacks tool and the top pitchers tool on the Stokastic.com website. Still getting used to that one. Starting with the top three stacks. Number three, the New York Mets are taking on Daniel Castano tonight in New York. They're projected for about 4% aggregate ownership. They have a 6% chance of being the top scoring stack. So far this season, Castano has only struck out 13.5% of hitters with a 4.49 xFIP. The Mets active roster has a very respectable 114 WRC plus to go along with a 145 ISO. Number two, the Colorado Rockies taking on Dallas Keuchel tonight in Arizona. We know that typically we don't want to target the Rockies outside of Coors Field, but Dallas Keuchel is reason to make an exception. His career has been on a downward trajectory for years. No signs of that slowing up. So far, in a relatively limited sample this year, 14.3% strikeout percentage, 4.9 xFIP for Keuchel. Nothing really surprising there. And while the Rockies' active roster does only have a 94 WRC plus and a 145 ISO, that's a little bit misleading, assuming that we get a normal lineup from them, because there is plenty of right-handed power in this lineup between Connor Joe, Chris Bryant, CJ Cron, Brendan Rodgers, and Randall Grichuk. These guys can all do damage, especially against someone like Keuchel. The Rockies are projected for about 5% ownership with I can't read my handwriting. With a 10% chance of being the top scoring stack. I thought I wrote 16, and that would have made no sense. But a 10% chance of being the top scoring stack at 5% projected ownership. And number one, the New York Yankees taking on Josh Winkowski tonight in Fenway. The Yankees are projected for about 13% ownership with a 12% chance of being being the top stack. But in addition to that, also a 10% chance of being the top value stack. It's pretty unusual that the Yankees show up as a good value, but that's the case right now on FanDuel. So take advantage of that. Winkowski's done a good job of getting ground balls this year. He has a 3.66 xFIP, but he's only struck out 17.3% of hitters. The Yankees active roster has a 120 WRC plus and a 201 ISO. I will take my chances on them against an unproven pitcher in Winkowski in Fenway Park tonight. Now, before we get to the top three tournament pitchers, we do have a new promo code for viewers of my tournament videos. Use the promo code ADAMMLB. It's at the top of the screen, and you receive 50% off any weekly Stokastic Plus package. This promo is available for new users only, but if you haven't already signed up for Stokastic Plus, use the promo code. Get yourself 50% off any weekly package. Check out the tools behind the paywall, including the top pitchers tool and the top hitters tool that I'm referencing in this video. It'll make you better at DFS very quickly. Get 50% off with that promo code at the top of the screen. Now, looking at the top three tournament pitchers on tonight's FanDuel slate. Number three, Tony Gonsolin, $10,000 price tag, taking on the Chicago Cubs, projected for 7% ownership with an 8% chance of being the top scoring pitcher. Gonsolin has a 24.9% strikeout percentage and a 3.77 xFIP this season. The Cubs active roster has a 23.5% strikeout percentage. They do also have a 115 WRC plus, but I think that is in part due to Suzuki returning from the injured list. He's a very good hitter, but I think he's pulling up their aggregate WRC plus a bit based on his small sample size so far this season when he's been healthy. Overall, a pretty high upside matchup for Gonsolin. And while he still doesn't go quite as deep into games or at least throw as many pitches as some other top tier starters, he has averaged about 88.5 pitches per start in his last five. If you're going to get around 90 pitches from Gonsolin, that's more than enough to feel good about him in tournaments on FanDuel. He's projected for about 7% ownership with an 8% chance of being the top scoring pitcher, as I mentioned. Number two, Garrett Cole, $10,900 price tag, taking on the Red Sox tonight in Fenway. It is a tough matchup against Boston. They have a 111 WRC plus and a 157 ISO on their active roster, but Cole has struck out 31.5% of hitters with a 2.89 xFIP so far this season. He's projected for about 9% ownership with a 9% chance of being the top scoring pitcher. And number one, Joe Musgrove, $11,100 price tag, taking on the Giants. Musgrove is projected for 8% ownership with a 10% chance of being the top scoring pitcher. He has a 25.5% strikeout percentage to go along with a 3.07 xFIP so far this season. The Giants active roster has a 23.5% strikeout percentage, also a 109 WRC plus. But Musgrove, again, only projected for about 8% ownership, makes him look like a good tournament option. So to recap, the top three tournament stacks on FanDuel: number three, the New York Mets; number two, the Colorado Rockies; number one, the New York Yankees; and the top three tournament pitchers: number three, Tony Gonsolin; number two, Garrett Cole; and number one, Joe Musgrove.